Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out my podcast. This is a basketball podcast, so predominantly I talk about the NBA, but I also like to cover high school, college, and international basketball. Today's date is March 2nd, 2026. It's about 1 p.m., so anything that happens after 1 o'clock today will not be featured in on this episode. Understand that I try to keep my episodes between 25 and 35 minutes, so if there's things that I don't mention in these episodes, take the time and comment down below, and we can talk more about some other things that's happening around the sport of basketball, because I have a lot of stuff to share. I'm trying to be respectful of your time and my time. But I want to give you guys my segments that I go over week in and week out. The first being a segment called PJ's Echelon. Now in PJ's Echelon, essentially, it's just my power rankings, and I'll give you guys the parameters for that here in just a moment. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call What's New. Now in What's New, essentially, I'm talking about some type of NBA news that may have happened this last week, some type of NBA historical history that happened this last week, or it could just be me straight up ranting. Another segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about games that I really enjoyed watching, either in the NBA, high school, college, or international basketball, or it could be games that I feel like carried some type of significance to it. And then the last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, essentially, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, and or international basketball. Okay, let's dive straight into the very first segment. The first segment is a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, in PJ's Echelon, essentially, is just my power rankings. Understand that this is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And the parameters that I like to use when I'm doing my power rankings week in and week out, one is the team's strength of schedule. I test statistically where the team sits, and then also the team's record. So the last time I did this was on the 11th of February, so we got quite a bit of things that's kind of moved around in my power rankings since then. Again, this is being recorded about 1 p.m., so the games today won't count as I'm doing these power rankings, okay? Let's start it off with my number one team this week. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma right now, they're 47-15. They're sixth in offensive rating, first in defensive rating, and they're first in net rating. Honestly, they're looking like they're probably going to go back-to-back is what I'm kind of leaning towards, but we'll see. We'll see how the rest of this year goes. They have the fifth toughest remaining schedule. They are 20-11 against teams above 500. Shea just came back last week. Looks like OKC's about to start going on a roll. Number two, this team is 43-17, and that is the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio right now, they're 8th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, and 4th in net rating. So they were on an 11-game win streak. They just lost last night. But I wasn't going to hold that loss to the Knicks over their heads. Honestly, they got a long road trip. They have right now currently on a kind of a long Eastern road trip right now. So I'm not going to kill them for losing to the Knicks. Plus, I think they probably spent a couple days in New York doing different activities and stuff. So probably just got sidetracked. Didn't take the game as serious as they probably should have. I'm not worried about the Spurs. I also wanted to reward them for their 11-game win streak. Even though they didn't beat a bunch of top-end competition in that streak, I just really liked what I seen out of them. I also feel like, I put them here too is because they show me that they can win in multiple different ways. So, again, just wanted to reward them. Probably next week, they probably won't be number 2. We'll see what happens the rest of this week. But this week, I want to give them some love. They're number 2 on my power rankings. Number 3. This team is 45-14, and that is the Detroit Pistons. Detroit right now, they're 11th in offensive rating, they're 2nd in defensive rating, and they're 3rd in net rating. So this year, honestly, I feel like it's just been such a great growth year for this team. I think most of us probably did not expect them to be this good and this competitive this year. So I just want to give them some love. Also, we know that they're going to have to try to get somebody, a secondary star next to Cade. It'll be interesting to see who they end up trying to grab because they do have assets. So we'll see what Langton ends up doing there. Honestly, I think all year long this has been a top 3 defense. I expect it to be carried over into the playoffs. They were exposed a little bit by the Spurs by their lack of only really being able to only score at the rim. But luckily for them, they're not going to have to deal with the Spurs in the playoffs. But I think there's another team in the East that could probably cause them a problem in the playoffs when it comes to them, the other team defending the paint and Detroit trying to score in the paint. So I'll save that for another day to talk about that. Number 4, This team is 40-20, and it is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're first in offensive rating, sixth in defensive rating, and second in net rating. So honestly, Boston didn't do anything wrong. I moved them down one spot. They didn't do anything wrong. Honestly, I just wanted to reward Detroit and reward the Spurs and OKC for what they have done. I also think Boston quietly over the stretch since the last time I did my power rankings, I feel like Boston has improved defensively, which is, it speaks to them improving, but also their schedule hasn't been like lights out, But I'm very interested to see how they handle this week. They got games against the Cavs, the Spurs, and OKC this week. Also, Jason Tatum is rumored to be returning later this week. So we're going to have some interesting things to talk about Boston next week, I feel like. Number 5, this team is 39-22, and it is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're third in offensive rating, eighth in defensive rating, and they're fifth in net rating. Honestly, this is crazy, but since January 1st, the New York Knicks is sporting the fourth best defensive rating. They actually have the second best defensive rating since the last time I did my power rankings during that little short stretch. But again, larger sample size since January 1st to have the fourth best defensive rating. March will be for sure a month to watch out for the Knicks. It's actually the month where they have their most games in the season. They got 16 games, so I'll be watching them closely in March. Number 6. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 38-24. They're fifth in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating, and 8th in net rating. Since January 1st, they're 19-8. They're actually sporting the third best offensive rating during that stretch as well. I'm very interested to see how they handle this week. They got the Pistons, Boston, Philly, and Orlando, and they got 3 of them at home, and then they go to Orlando about mid next week. So we'll see how Cleveland fares this week too. Number 7. This team is 38-23, and it is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota right now, they are 9th in offensive rating, 9th in defensive rating, and 9th in net rating. They have the 4th best offensive rating since January 1st. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And I've been asking for Jaden McDaniels to be more aggressive offensively this year. Coming into the year, I asked him. During the year, I've been asking him. He's kind of living up to what I'm hoping for. Shot attempts are still really low, but he's been ultra efficient, and also his usage rate is at a career high right now at about 18%. So I'm very happy with what I'm seeing from Jaden McDaniels. Keep it up, McDaniels. Number 8, this team is 37-22, and it is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 7th in offensive rating, 5th in defensive rating, and 6th in net rating. So since January 1st, finally, this team has cooled off from the three-point line. We knew it was going to happen eventually. Since January 1st, they're about 25th in three-point percentage in the NBA at 34%, 20th in offensive rating 2 during that stretch. We all knew it was just a matter of time before they cooled off. They got the 18th toughest remaining schedule, so about middle of the pack. They got 2 games against the Timberwolves, 1 against the Spurs and 1 against Denver. We'll see if Houston can get back on track offensively as we close out the rest of this year. Number 9, this team is 37-24, and it is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're 2nd in offensive rating, 21st in defensive rating, 7th in net rating. Peyton Watson and Eric Gordon should be returning within the next week or two is what I'm assuming. Joker really could use Aaron Gordon right now. I feel bad for this Denver team. I really do, because all the injuries. I feel like I don't know if they're going to have enough time to really gain camaraderie as we're going into the playoffs, which I know is kind of crazy to say because a lot of their core guys are still there. But there are a couple other players that I feel like have improved this year that you still got to kind of be, still got to acclimate one another to each other, right? Because some of these players' games have grown. We'll see what happens. But for now, this week, they're number 9 on my big board. Number 10, this team is 34-26, and it is the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix right now, they're 20th in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, 14th in net rating. So I'm keeping them at 10 this week, even though I could probably make arguments for some of these other teams. I'm going to keep them at 10. Devin Booker should be returning, I think, maybe tonight, or within the next few days. So I'm going to leave them at 10. I'm going to give them some grace. And if they don't, show me anything or Book don't come back next week, then maybe I will remove them. My teams on the bubble are the Raptors, Philadelphia, and the Orlando Magic. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys in my power rankings. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, who's in your top 10 and who do you have on your bubble for this week. My next segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm talking about some type of NBA news that may have happened this last week, some type of NBA historical history that was made this last week, or it could just be me ranting. Today, we're going to check in on some of our lottery teams. What I'm going to do is for the next 2 weeks, this week and next week for What's New, we're going to go through all the lottery teams. I'm going to give you guys basically who I think the team should draft. I'm not going to do some random shuffle. We're just going to keep them in order from 1 to 15. I'll give you guys what player I think they should draft, why I think they should should draft him. And then after that, because we're getting ready to start the conference tournament for college basketball. So in 2 weeks, I'll kind of prep us for the NCAA tournament, and I'll give you guys kind of like my top 10 prospects that I'll be watching out for during the NCAA tournament and players that you should be watching out for too, okay? And then even later on in this episode, we're going to actually talk about some prospects that I did not know about coming into the year that I learned about throughout this year, okay? So you're not going to want to miss it. We're about to have some fun, man. I'm really excited. I love doing this kind of stuff, so we're going to just dive straight into it. So our number one team, and according to the odds, the team with the number one pick as of today is the Sacramento Kings. And with Sacramento being on the clock, the player that I have Sacramento selecting with the number one overall pick is Darren Peterson of the Kansas Jayhawks. So DP, if you're not familiar with him, he's about 6'5". He's a shooting guard. And the reason why I put DP here is because for me, I think DP will get a chance to run Northern California. He's also from Cali, but he'll be able to run the north side of California. Also, to me, I think this also will give Sacramento the first real year of their rebuild. I understand that last year they drafted Neek and they drafted Renaud. I get that. And then even the year before that, they drafted Devin Carter, and I know they see Keegan Murray as kind of like a foundational building block. But DP would be he would really be their official building block, in my opinion. I think also Sacramento needs a franchise player. I don't think any of those four guys that I named to you guys are franchise level players. DP gets a chance to stay in Cali. Also get to revive that Sacramento franchise and really give them something to look forward to. So I really hope he does land with the Sacramento Kings, because I like him with Sacramento more than I like his counterpart, which is AJ. I know some people may think AJ's the number one pick. Like I said, I really like DP to go to Sacramento if they keep the first pick. Number two team that's on the clock, it is the Indiana Pacers, according to the odds. Indiana, I have them selecting Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina, 6'9", power forward / small forward. I've talked about Caleb on the pod. I've talked about DP on the pod too over the years. But Caleb, if you're not familiar with Caleb's game, to me, he kind of reminds me of a mixture of kind of like Jermaine O'Neal when he was younger with the Pacers, and also a mixture of kind of like Giannis, right? Like high motor character. I mean, can cover a lot of ground defensively. He plays with such a high motor. I really like Caleb Wilson, really for Indiana, really with the core they have with Halliburton, Zubac, Pascal Siakam, and then Nembhard. I really, 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 really like Caleb Wilson for them. And the way I see it is day one, defensively, you add him to this team, he should, a mixture of him, Zubac, Nembhard, even Pascal. I know Pascal's a little older now, but this team defensively, Nesmith, they should be a top 10 defensive team going into next year with Caleb Wilson. That's how high I am on his defensive ability and how I know he can alter shots and really affect a team defensively. And then also like just imagining him in the fast break or the open court with Halliburton. Come on, man. I've been talking about him to Indiana for months, and I really hope Indiana gets a chance to draft him, because I would love to see him on the Pacers. Number three, it is the Brooklyn Nets. So I got Brooklyn taking AJ DeBonsa, 6'9", small forward, offensively can do it all. I really like this for Brooklyn. It gives Brooklyn, to me, gives them somebody with a big personality in a big city, which AJ does have a big personality, and he's a big game performer as well. And I like the guards too that he'll be able to play with. He'll be able to play with Nolan Torreira, and then also Yegor Demon. I like that. And then obviously Danny Wolf just had a big game. Actually, he's had two really solid games the last two games, so it seemed like he's starting to get comfortable. And then obviously you got Ben Sarv coming off the bench. I really like AJ in Brooklyn. I like AJ in Brooklyn. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I like him. Yeah, I like him in Brooklyn. I was going to say, I was debating too if I wanted him or Cam in Brooklyn, but I like Cam with this other team a little bit more. Number 4, it is the Washington Wizards. So for Washington, I do got Washington taking Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer, 6'9", power forward out of Duke. Forgot to tell you guys too, AJ goes to BYU. So I got Cam going to the Wizards. The reason why I really like him with the Wizards, and I like the Wizards young core too. You got Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly. You got Keyshawn George, and then you got Bud Carrington, and then you got Will Riley. I really like Boozer with this core simply because to me, like Cam. I know people are really hard on Cam, But to me, Cam is just he's like a poor man's Tim Duncan to me. Defensively, not Tim Duncan at all. But more so kind of on the offensive end where, and I'm talking about when he's in the low block, very Tim Duncan-esque with just fundamentally being sound, having great footwork. His real player comp to me, though, like in totality, is more of a Kevin Love, and I've said that to you guys. But I really, really like him with this Wizards core because to me, with him being with this core, he can kind of just be that number 2 or number 3 on this team in like multifacets of the team, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that, like he can be on offense, can be your number 2 or number 3, right? Passing the ball, rebounding the ball. Defensively, he's not horrible. I would say he's pretty solid. Like he's okay, he's fine. But I just think he would just be solid on this group. Like this, being on this team, he's not going to be asked to do too much. And then also why I bring up the Tim Duncan comp too is because of, I just think the consistency of him being with this core. I think this core would be a perennial playoff team. And also it gives him a chance to back up a player like Anthony Davis, which, AD, cross your fingers. I don't hope injuries on nobody, but him backing up a player like Anthony Davis, I think would be good for him to learn from AD, even when AD's not playing. He won't be asked to be the face of the franchise because you do have Alex Sarr, you do have Trey Johnson, who I'm really high on. You do have some of these other players on the team, so he wouldn't be asked to be the headliner, you know what I'm saying? So I think this spot fits him nicely and will allow him to focus on development with another young core. And I just think he would be a great glue guy for this team. I really do. I like him a lot better than I like AJ with them. I don't like AJ with the Wizards. I like Cam Boozer a lot with this core. Number 5, it's the Utah Jazz. Now, this pick may surprise you guys, who I think Utah should take. And with this core, the core of Ace Bailey, my boy Keontae George, Bryce Sansabaugh, Isaiah Colliner, and then Cody Williams. I think, and mind you guys, Utah, the last 4 years have been in the bottom 8, bottom 9 in the NBA in three-point shooting. So it was a toss-up for me between two players. I leaned more towards Keaton Wagler of Illinois. He's 6'6", shooting guard, shoots the lights out, can do some stuff off the dribble. He's actually an underrated passer in my opinion. And he reads the pick and roll beautifully. I went with Keaton Wagler because of the three-point shooting, I think. I think he'll be a more consistent three-point shooter. But then also, I felt like Kingston Flemings and Keontae George, I feel like they're very similar in their play styles. Even though I think Keontae's a much better scorer than Kingston will ever be. But I think Kingston's a better defender. But I just didn't like that pairing in my backcourt. And also, I don't know if Utah's planning to let Isaiah Colliner run the point moving forward, but I like Keaton Wagler for them. If they decide, okay, Isaiah Colliner, not our starting point guard, he'd be a great backup. We could put Keontae at the 1, have Wagler at the 2, and then obviously you got Markkanen, you got Kessler, and then you got Jaren Jackson. I really like Keaton Wagler for this team. I think they need shooting, and I think he's going to be a more consistent three-point shooter than Kingston Fleming. So that's why I went with Keaton Wagler at 5. That might be a little high and a little rich for some people, but I think, again, I'm drafted on teams fit, right? He's not my number 5 prospect on my big board by any means. So number 6, we got the Atlanta Hawks. I got Atlanta actually taking Kingston Flemings. I think this fits him a lot better. So Kingston's a 6'4" point guard / shooting guard. He goes to University of Houston right now. And Atlanta's young core, they got obviously Jalen Johnson, Jonathan Kuminga, Asa Newell. They got Dyson Daniels. And then they got Zachary Richeche. I really like Kingston to be with him because to me, he gets to be the point guard, no questions asked. We've kind of seen how it looked with Dyson Daniels running the point. Not long-term ideal. I like Kingston Flemings with Atlanta. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. I think that's who I'm taking at 6 for Atlanta. And yeah, those are kind of that's my top 6. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What fit do you think fits with these teams, and who would you guys select for these teams? And again, like I said, next week we'll do the next batch of teams, and we'll try to just truck along, okay? Let's go to the next segment. My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of NBA, high school, college, or national basketball game that I really enjoyed watching, or it could be a game of some type of significance. I got a couple games that I want to go over with you guys, and I also want to save enough time to go through my last segment, because my last segment I'm kind of talking about some players that I've been scouting all year. So yeah, I'm not going to use too much time on this segment. A game I do want to highlight briefly is the Spurs played the Pistons. Spurs won the game 114-103. I want to highlight this because I want to give some love to Stephon Castle and the defense he played in that game on Cade. And also just the Spurs defense as a whole. Like I said earlier in my podcast, I felt like the Spurs kind of exposed Detroit's weaknesses. So I wanted to give them some love, and it was a really good game anyways. Another game is the number 5 Houston Cougars going to number 14 Kansas. Kansas won this game 69-56. And honestly, Kansas did it by committee, in my opinion. I felt like they took complete control of the game in the second half. Trey White put on a show. Also, Bryson Tiller was a player that had a really good performance. I think he should come back again for a sophomore year, because I think if he comes back one more year, I think he'll be probably a first rounder in the NBA if he comes back one more year. I also think Flory Bodunga, I liked him. I've been liking him all year. I think he's a late first rounder as well. I think he should come out this year, though. I like Flory. I know some people think he should go back another year. I like him coming out this year. I think he's shown enough to me to at least be a very serviceable backup in the NBA, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then the last game I want to go over with you guys is number 14 Kansas at number 2 Arizona. Honestly, the first half, Arizona kind of looked like they were going to blow Kansas out. They were the more physical team and had the offensive flow and identity, where I feel like Kansas just didn't know what they were doing in the first half. The second half, we started seeing Kansas realize, like, okay, and DP didn't even shoot that good in the first half. But in the second half, I don't know what was said at halftime, but you could tell they made it a point to make sure the offense ran through DP. They gave him the ball, and he was making stuff happen right out the gate. His shots started to fall with regularity, and kind of the others kind of fed off of that. But then it was about midway through the second half where Arizona kind of went on a 16-0 run, and they kind of pulled away at that point. And this happened when Kansas got the game within 2. But honestly, I just think Arizona just has too much offense, too much defense, and Kansas does not have the same explosiveness defensively and offensively as Arizona does. And also, this game was played at Arizona, so that kind of helps as well. Honestly, and it does pay me to say this, Arizona is probably my favorite today to win the national title. And I'm a Duke fan, but I've been on here consistently and told you guys that I felt like Arizona, Duke, Houston, and Michigan were like the top 4. And I told you guys this at the beginning of the year. But I feel like the more I'm watching, the more I'm like conceding, like, yeah, Arizona's probably going to win the national title, because they can do it. They can win in every type of way. They can win in a dogfight, high scoring, slow slash fast paced games. They have extremely solid 8-man rotation. I just think we're getting ready to watch the Wildcats cut down the nets, unfortunately. But I'm not too mad about it, because I claim AZ as a second home, so I'm not too mad about it. So games coming up this week. We'll talk about the ones in the NBA, and then we'll talk about the ones in college basketball. So Tuesday night, we get Pistons at Cavs. Also Tuesday, we get Knicks at Raptors. Wednesday, we get OKC at the Knicks. Wednesday, we also get the Charlotte Hornets at the Boston Celtics. I just think that's going to just be a fun game to watch. That's why I put that here. And then also Thursday, we get Pistons at the Spurs, kind of a rematch. And then also Thursday, we get Raptors at the Timberwolves. Friday, we get the Mavs at the Celtics. And I put this here because it's rumored that Jason Tatum's going to be returning with probably maybe Friday. So I just put this here for just in case. And then Sunday, we get Celtics at the Cavs. And then next Monday, we get the Nuggets at the Thunder. And that's our NBA slate. And our college basketball slate, this is the last week until conference tournament starts. So we get number 6 Iowa State at number 2 Arizona. That's tonight. I'm going to be watching that game. There's some prospects on both sides that I'm looking forward to watching. If you're not familiar, Koa Pete, Braden Burries, and then I like Killian Teray. Of Iowa State. I like him coming out, but we'll see if he ends up coming out this year or not. But I like him too. So that's going to be a matchup to watch tonight. Watching Braden versus Killian Teray. That's going to be a good matchup. And then Wednesday, we get Texas at number 20, Arkansas. Again, watching this because there's some prospects. Texas got Dalen Swain, who we're about to talk about here shortly. And then Arkansas has Darius Aguff, Malik Thomas. Billy Richmond has been coming on really strong lately. So we'll see what happens with him. He might be putting himself into being drafted too. But yeah, I like that matchup. I'm looking forward to watching that on Wednesday. And then also Wednesday, we get Baylor at number 7, Houston. Again, more prospects. Baylor has Tunde Yesufu, Cameron Carr. Houston has Kingston Flemings, Chris Sinak Jr. So love watching the prospects play. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. And then Thursday, we get number 3, Michigan at Iowa. Again, more prospects. We get Yaxel and Morez Johnson versus Bennett Sturts. I'm just really excited, honestly, to watch Bennett Sturts go up against that big physical Michigan defense. I want to see how he does against them because Bennett Sturts was somebody that I was looking forward to watching coming into this year. And he hasn't played bad. Like, he's been very solid. But I was expecting more. So I want to see how he does when he plays against a team with this kind of physicality and size. It'll be a good measurement for him. And then Saturday, and that game's on Thursday if I didn't say it. And then Saturday, we get number 24, Vandy at number 23, Tennessee. Again, get to watch some more prospects. Vandy has Tyler Tanner. And then Tennessee has Nate Ament. I don't know if Nate's going to play because I know he got hurt the last game I was watching. So I don't know if he's playing or not Saturday. And then Sunday, we get the rival. We get number 8, Michigan State at number 3, Michigan. That's just going to be a slobber knocker of a game. So I had to put that on the slate as well. You guys let me know down in the comment section below what games did you guys really enjoy this week and what games are you looking forward to watching this week. My last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, In the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or national basketball. So I decided, why not have a little fun? Again, just kind of getting us prepped for the conference tournament in college basketball, but also kind of just putting a couple names in your mind if you're not familiar with them going into the NCAA tournament. So I want to talk about 3 players that I did not know about going into college basketball. I didn't know about these players in the summer. I learned about them throughout this year. I just haven't really said their names here on the channel quite yet because I wanted to gather more information about them before I came on here and try to act like I was knowledgeable. But yeah, so I want to talk about some players that I learned about during the college basketball season. You may know about them or maybe you knew about them over the summer. But yeah, these are players I kind of want to highlight because I think all these players have potential NBA draft profiles. So one player we'll start with Allen Graves. Allen Graves is a 6'9" power forward. He's a freshman at Santa Clara. Right now, he plays about 22 minutes a game, averages about 11.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Shooting splits 51% from the field, 41% from 3, 73% from the free throw line. I didn't write down how many personal fouls he averaged, but I think he averages like 3.5 personal fouls a game. And I'm highlighting that because I think that's really something that I would like to see him kind of get that under control. He plays a physical brand of basketball, so I know that kind of plays a part into it. But also I think him potentially moving to a higher up conference, he'll be able to play more. He'll be able to play that physicality that he wants. I think he'll get away with a little bit more up there. But also I want to see how he does about like playing just better comp night in and night out. So I would personally like to see him come back for sophomore year and transfer out to maybe a bigger school. It's kind of what I'm hoping for, but I also have to put him here because there's a possibility he might come out because I do think he has an NBA potential profile. But I really would like to see him go back for at least one more year. I think at the NBA level, I kind of see him as a rotational player in the NBA if he comes out this year. And so that's why I wanted to highlight him to you guys. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I like his strong suit right now, I think, is defensively. Don't be too blown away at the 41% from 3. I don't know if that's necessarily sustainable, but I do like Allen Graves. So that's why I wanted to talk about him to you guys. And again, somebody I learned about throughout the year. Another player is Amari Allen, 6'8", small forward / power forward. He's a freshman at Alabama. He plays about 29 minutes a game, averages 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, shoots 46% from the field, 38% from 3, and 76% from the free throw line. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. To me, he kind of reminds me of like Al Horford a little bit. He kind of shoots like he kind of got a similar jump shot for him too a little bit, but he does kind of remind me of Al Horford. Plays with great energy on both ends. I think he can guard I think he can guard 1 through 5 with his length. And I think he's maybe closer to 6'9" than 6'8". But I think he can guard 1 through 5. I think he can play position-wise, probably can play 3 to 5. I think he has a little mobility on the perimeter. But to me, he's kind of trending towards a potential late lottery player for me. So I wanted to give him some love because, again, I didn't know about him, so I wanted to give him some love. And then the last player that I want to highlight is Dalen Swain. He's a 6'8 junior at Texas. He transferred from Xavier. Right now, he's averaging 32 minutes a game, 18.7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He leads the SEC in field goal percentage at 55%. He shoots 33% from 3 and 81% from the free throw line. Honestly, the best way I describe him is I think his play style is a mixture of like a Paul George / Trey Murphy is what I kind of am comping him as. Jump shot form, I do not like his form on his jump shot. I don't like it at all. But I can see the tools there. Like he's very smooth handle, smooth operator. He's a very solid defender, gets in passing lanes. He moves his feet well. He has really good defensive awareness. And like I told you guys, like those are the players I think he reminds me of. Again, somebody I just learned about during this season. So obviously I don't have like a crazy sample size on him for you guys, unfortunately. But I like Dalen Swain. I like Dalen Swain as a lottery pick if he comes out this year. So another part I just wanted to give some love to. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for staying and tuning in the PJ Who podcast. I know I didn't record last week, and that was just because I had some other things going on in my personal life I needed to kind of sort out. But I'm back on, and we back and rolling. Okay, you guys, let's get ready for the college, for March Madness, and let's just have a good rest of the NBA season. I'm really excited for what we got store for you guys. Okay, PJ is out.